English translation 242nd contact. Monday, 24th April, 1992, 03:05 hours.
Very pleasing, my friend, to see you again. It really did not take as long as the last time. I am glad to see you again, healthy.
I felt the need to exchange a few words with you. There are also a few things which move me that I want to discuss with you.
So purely private? That is how it sounds.
Your fine hearing ability is simply impossible to surpass. Yes, I thought that our conversation should not be revealed to other ears than to ours alone.
Of course, then it shall also be so. But may I nevertheless ask you something?
There is no reason for you not to do this.
Good, thank you. The question relates to the earthquakes in the Grisons region, canton of Switzerland, and the Rhine region. Many people are afraid that more severe earthquakes would occur there, and that there would therefore be a great danger. What is this all about?
The danger of more severe earthquakes does indeed exist, but this does not apply to the immediate future. With smaller quakes, however, things will be different, because already on the 8th of May, another one of these will occur, which will have to be calculated at a magnitude of about 5.5, if according to the Richter scale.
That is pretty strong for Switzerland. Is this related to the volcano that slumbers in the lower Rhine Valley and is expected to erupt again one day?
Certainly, there is a direct connection with that.
The volcano is said to erupt one day, where the area is called Ebenalp and Wildkirchli, next to the three small lakes Sialpsee, Semtesersee, and Hohensteinsee. Am I right or wrong with that?
The coming, however still distant, events will one day in fact happen there, or at least in the nearer surroundings, in case the situation should change somewhat due to whatever things that cannot yet be clearly seen today.
May I ask another question?
Naturally.
Has the humankind of Earth already reached the mass of 5,500 million?
5,500 million were already exceeded about 3 months ago. The human beings of Earth in this regard know neither rationality nor responsibility, as a consequence of which the human beings will continue to increase unstoppably in their number. However, this leads to a worldwide catastrophe, because there will soon no longer be sufficient water supplies, also not enough free land, and no longer enough raw materials and food. The forests and nature reserves will have to be cleared and plowed, yet the land will still not be sufficient. The peoples will flee their homelands and flood the world with burning and murder. Everyone will be next to themselves and murder their own blood in order to survive a little longer. And even much worse things will happen if the human being does not soon stop in his or her frenzy of procreating offspring, and does not put a stop to the insanity of the rapidly progressing overpopulation. Although this is not yet the case, however, the time is no longer far off when these things will emerge in visible form. Some things are already happening in this regard, but the human being of the earth seems to be blind because he or she still does not recognize it.
I know. The irresponsible ones also do not want to hear anything about these facts. Guido, for example, told me that during his lectures it would always be the case that many persons walk away when he uses serious words about the overpopulation and its necessary decimation by means of birth stops, etc. These insane and irresponsible ones appear to see a crime in the rationality and responsibility and in preserving the planet and the nature, the fauna and flora, and the human being as well as the life. They also belong to those through whose fault many species of the fauna and flora are caused to die out every day. All waters getting poisoned, the destruction of the ozone layer being able to continue raging, and the cultivated soil to be destroyed.
Unfortunately, you are all too right with your words, because many thousands of fauna and flora species are continually dying out on the Earth. The climate change is progressing rapidly, with the southern hemisphere being particularly affected by it. The changes in climatic conditions make the agricultural harvest yields decline in both southern as well as northern regions. This will make the already mentioned flight of peoples from their lands unstoppable. Such flights of peoples will, however, in the future also increasingly occur as a result of war activities. A fact that is already beginning to become apparent in the former Yugoslavia, where millions of human beings will already be fleeing from the irresponsible warmongers and from the lustful for murder and bloodthirsty wannabe Rambos, whose only sense is longing for war and for murder and manslaughter, which is also why a peace in Serbia is not yet recognizable, and why the UN troops there will also have to fail in their mission. Unfortunately, however, the United Nations organization, too, has not yet realized that its way of passive observation and provision of troops is completely wrong. Still, this organization and its responsible persons of the states united in it have not understood and have not comprehended that their mode of action is absolutely wrong and that, in truth, peacefighting troops according to Hennock's system would have to be established, which would in each individual case, for the sake of peace, have to intervene by means of a fight, and radically everywhere, where war or simply unpeace is imminent.
An act of logical, Gewalt-necessitating effort for peace. However, there is no action according to this, which is also why we already have the overburdening asylum seeker problem, which has already existed for years and is becoming ever grosser. Crazy ones and other lunatics, who as a rule are simply ununderstanding, falsely humanized and irresponsible ones, are now even demanding that the politically more rational countries must open their borders to these asylum seekers, whilst not considering and not far-sighted enough to recognize that by doing so, the asylum-granting countries are unrestrainedly inundated and thus slowly destroyed by the asylum seekers. After all, this began already years ago with asylum seekers from various African countries, as well as from former Eastern Bloc states, from Sri Lanka, Turkey, Afghanistan, and many other states. These facts are actually well known to those responsible and to those in government, but they are concealed from the people, as is the truth about the AIDS epidemic, which is in truth much worse than is admitted. Also, the fact that AIDS is much worse than is admitted, this too is played down and concealed. The same applies to the use of the nuclear energies and many other things that are played down or concealed from the general public. Not the least to blame for this are also countless sects, which perform their mischief in the whole world, and which ridicule these facts, because through their sectarianism they disparage everything and everyone, no matter whether it is right or not. Thereby, the broad masses of humankind are led into the unreal and falling into bondage to the false assumption that everything ungood that is publicly accused would merely be a sectarian invention. If then real and truth-containing warnings come from a competent party, then they are only laughed at. An absolute disregard for the warning is the consequence of this, and the warners are accused of being world improvers in the same manner as the truly sectarian world improvers, who are truthfully only out of their irrational sectarianism, spreading their rubbish and talking of godly punishment and godly salvation.
You drive the wedge into the right crack, my friend. Let us, however, now speak of those things for which I came.
Naturally,